So, good morning, African kings and queens. How are you doing today? Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching from, though. How is your business? How is your company? How is your organization going? I trust you're good. How is going well with you? This is a corporate law lecture series brought to you by Afraid Business School. The lecturer is still Barrister Imune Emmanuel. We're still doing an analysis of the Memorandum of Association and the Article of Association. So, by way of introduction, we said every registered company operates on foundational legal documents that defines its identity, power, structure, and internal governance. Two of the most important constitutional documents of a company are one, the Memorandum of Association, and two, the Articles of Association. So these are the constitutional framework of a company. I hope we get that. So under the Company and Allied Matters Act 2020 of Nigeria, these documents form the constitutional framework upon which a company is being governed. So it is very important that entrepreneurs, attorneys, directors, corporate body, corporate institution, and regulatory institutions, we understand the importance of these two documents because the Memorandum of Association is the principal constitutional document of a company that defines what the company's identity, the company's legal capacity, the company's relationship with the outside world, and the scope of the power of that company. How does it define the company's identity? When you come to it, you see the name provision. When you look at the name of a company in the memorandum, is already telling you this is the identity of the company. This company is this. And then when you see the objectives, it's telling you the legal capacity of the company. But not just it, the sheer capital of a company tells you the legal capacity because we have to understand that companies are not authorized to do transaction that is beyond their share capital, the level of their share capital. Their share capitals are below 5 million. There is 10 million above. There's even 1 million, depending on the field you are. The one for aviation is different from the one for construction. And it depends on the one for is different from the one for agriculture, education. These things are dependent on the fields you are operating in. So, the relationship, it also defines the relationship with the outside world. We have already said it. How does it define the relationship with the outside world? When you check, in fact, most times when investors want to invest in your company or one regulatory bank institutions, or even if you want to open accounts with banks, most of the time they will require this, not just the certificate of incorporation, they will have to require this because this forms a framework in which they interact with you. It forms then also it check the scope of this company's powers because where your objectives end, this is where the scope of your company. Although most time people at registration begin to add things like general contract, general merchandise to enlarge the scope of the company, but investors know what are your fundamental objectives, and the stakeholders would really like to stick with that and deal with you within that framework. Uh, so it is actually the memorandum of association that is referred as the charter of the company. So in summary, we said it like that the memorandum tells the public who the company is, what the company can do. It tells who, what, how. So it tells the public who the company is, what the company can do, and how the company does carries out its own business. So now the major contents, we have already said it in the lecture, according to Company and Others Matter Act 2020, the major content of a memorandum of association is what the name provision, It says the name, for example, Afriedu Business School is a name. Lintok Hotel and Suits, and that's what you can find in the memorandum of a company. Two, it said that the registered office address of the company. Now, this deal with legal jurisdiction. Why is this important? If notice is going to be served to the company, these are the things that determines it. It also is in corporate communications, and it talks about the object provision. We have talked about it. In fact, that's one of the major importance or content of the memorandum is very essential. The objective, what type of business is it? Educational consultancy? Is it real estate? Is it agriculture? Is it oil and gas? Is it shipping? Is it corporate? Is it common resource management and this thing? And it also contains the liability provision. This is where you know whether the liability of the members are limited by shares, whether their liability is unlimited, or whether it's limited by guarantees. Then another provision you will find in the memorandum of association is the share capital, the authorized share capital, whether it's 1 million share capital, 5 million, 10 million, 1 billion. It is where you will see it and how these shares are, allotted, allocated. This is where you will see it. And it also contains the subscription provisions, who subscribes to the shares of the company, who are the subscribers. This is where you, and the number of shares they took in the company. So these are the type of things you will see. So in the next lecture, we'll start talking about the essential, the importance, and all of that. So we just have to end here so that the lecture will not be bulky. Bye for now.